Thank you, Dr. Siegfried. Good morning, Andover. How's everybody? Good? Good morning, good morning. This is our non-Sibi Day all-school meeting, which I'm psyched about. For those who have been here for a while, you know we go through a range of our founding values in all-school meetings, and of course we do our non-Sibi Day all-school meeting right after we all have done that great work. And I sometimes think about the founding values of Andover as the thing that most sets this school apart. And I sometimes wonder if they are in rank order of any sort. When you think about non-Sibi is definitely at least tied for first. I often think about youth from every quarter must be tied for first. Knowledge and goodness is pretty far up there. But it's no question that I think when people leave Andover, they remember non-Sibi Day, and I hope that you will remember the day of engagement and service that you've had this weekend, as I did. I want to start off by thanking those individuals who have led us in that work, several of whom are here this morning and have also put on this event. In the front row, and I hope they might wave, are Monique Cueto-Potts, Emily Hughes, Victor Leos, Mark Cutler may not be here, but they have led us today, and thank you for all that you have done. Yes, you can clap for one another. We are so blessed to have colleagues as devoted as these doing this crucially important work. I think it truly is one of the things that sets us apart in the best possible way. This morning, we are extremely lucky to welcome back a favorite son of Andover, Meka Egwuekwe, who is a member of the class of 1991, who has been doing some fascinating work, which you will hear more about. I will not say more. I've been Googling him and watching him on YouTube and stuff to prepare, which I'm super, super psyched to hear what he says. We also welcome back his two daughters who have come back to Andover today. We're thrilled you're out here. Please welcome this wonderful family back to Andover with me. Before our main speaker, we have a little order of business, which is that I think Miles McCain and Sam Yoon may want to come up to tell us about a day of silence that they have planned for next Friday. Oh, in fact, it's not just those two. So I have the wrong names. I'm sorry. Come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. My PGPs are she, her, hers.
Hi, I'm Anna. My PGPs are they, them, theirs.
And I'm Lucy, and my PGPs are she, her, hers. And we're here today to announce the Day of Silence, which is happening on Friday. Do you want to take that? Yeah. And it's a day where students can abstain from speaking to honor and recognize the victims of bullying and harassment in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning community.
And students can choose to stay silent throughout the day or simply show their support by picking up stickers and pins that we're going to be giving out in Commons during lunch on Thursday and Friday. If you choose to participate, please notify your teachers beforehand too.
Then at 7:30 on Friday at the Armillary Sphere on the lawn, there will be a breaking of silence where students will gather and break their silence together. Please come and show your support even if you choose not to actively participate in staying silent throughout the day.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you all. And that was Lucy, Sam, and Anna. I want to note also this has been, I think, a great period of student activism on our campus, and many of us as adults really admire that, from Take Back the Night to the walkout to the walk to lead us out of darkness. On Sunday, I believe that this campus community has been engaged in very important issues and showing your activism in wonderful, respectful, serious ways, and I think that is very much in the spirit of non-Sibi, so I wanted to acknowledge and thank you all for that as well. Now, to introduce our non-Sibi speaker, Meka Egwuekwe, is Nalu Concepcion, your very own introducer. Come on up, Nalu.
Good morning. My name is Nalu Concepcion. I'm a 3-year upper from Paducah, Kentucky, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Coding Circle program at the Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence. I am honored to introduce this year's non-Sibi speaker, Meka Egwuekwe, from the class of 1991. Meka Egwuekwe is Executive Director of Code Crew, an innovative, mentorship-based youth coding initiative guiding kids in Memphis to be tech producers. Formerly Director of Software Development for Lokion Interactive, Mr. Egwuekwe was a professional software developer for more than 19 years, building software systems for governments and Fortune 500 companies all around the world. Since founding Code Crew in May 2015, he has applied his tech experience toward making computer science education available to kids all across Memphis, especially for underrepresented groups. Code Crew has reached more than 1,000 youth to date and has grown to 8 in-school elective programs, 12 after-school programs, multiple summer camps, internships, and numerous special events. While at Andover, Mr. Egwuekwe lived in Peace House and Bishop North and served as West Quad North Cluster President. He was an active member of Aflat Am, a founding member of the Afrocentric West Quad Posse rap group, and a producer and radio show host at WPAA. He was a passionate math and science student, and Tamba Makubela was not only his favorite teacher at Andover, but also one of his biggest influences, a mentorship that continues today. Since Andover, Mr. Egwuekwe has made work with youth and education amongst his top personal priorities. In the spirit of non-Sibi, he has served as an Andover alumni admissions representative for more than 20 years and has led a college tour for high school students for the past 13 years. His work in youth tech education began when he founded the Memphis chapter of Black Girls Code in late 2012, hosting workshops teaching hundreds of girls how to build mobile applications, web pages, video games, and robots. He is also a longtime mentor in the StartCo Business and Technology Accelerators, where he has mentored various startup companies in tech. Mr. Egwuekwe has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in computer science from Morehouse College and Duke University, respectively. He resides in Memphis with his wife, Pamela. Their 2 teenage daughters also currently attend New England boarding schools. Please join me in welcoming Meka Egwuekwe to the stage.
Thank you very, very much, Nalu. And I look forward to us chatting further about the coding circle and so forth. So I certainly thank you for that very kind introduction, and I also thank you to your very accomplished educator and innovator that is the head of school here, which is John Palfrey. I'm certainly thankful to Jenny Savino and Monique Cueto Potts, for inviting me, and I'm thankful to all the faculty and staff for making this outstanding institution work every day, and I know that's a lot of work. And I thank especially my future brothers and sisters in alumnihood, my brothers and sisters in human progress, my future brothers and sisters in world leadership, the Phillips Academy student body. Thank all of you for your attendance today. Let me also shout out my 2 lovely daughters, Alechi and Sobena, themselves in nearby boarding schools, who were kind enough to hear Daddy run his mouth this morning. And I'd like to also shout out Melina Powell, daughter of classmates Madi and Jose Powell. Madi and Jose are close friends, and that friendship I will always cherish. Words cannot express how honored and delighted I am to have been invited home here to Andover to share with you a few thoughts and perspectives in recognition of that key value expressed in Latin as non-Sibi. I'm sure none of you came here to hear a long talk, and so I'll do my best to be brief, though I am a Southern man, and we Southern men can be challenged at times with respect to brevity. But it is wonderful to be back home, and I'm humbled to be on this stage, and I have not had such an opportunity to speak from this stage since I ran for school president. And I can assure you I'm as nervous today as I was 28 short years ago. And a lot has changed in 28 years. Laptop computers, cell phones, Instagram, those things weren't around then. We only had the payphone in the hallway on the second floor to reach out to our friends. But feeling the feeling of butterflies one experiences when speaking before an audience as attentive and intelligent as this one, in a space as hallowed and important as this one, is very much unchanged in 28 years. I left Memphis yesterday still struggling with what I was going to say today. And there's so many things to discuss, and I can tell you that the struggle is real for a software engineer trying to organize his non-technical thoughts in a sufficiently coherent way. When I was in Andover, math and science were my go-tos. I was 5s and 6s in those subjects. But I was a pretty lousy English student, and though I am very glad to be doing this speech in English today because I was an even worse French student. Mais je parle français maintenant. I speak un peu, a little French today. And so I certainly, so I'll just say frankly, I certainly do not possess the eloquence or thought of speech of great Americans like Ida B. Wells or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But please forgive me if I borrow from Dr. King, especially here and there this morning. We are living in an important moment. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Hafsat Abiola this weekend. A very important campus organization itself inspired by Dr. King. And earlier this month in Memphis, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of his assassination at the Lorraine Motel with a symposium themed after King's last book, Where Do We Go From Here? And a tolling of an historic bell at the moment Dr. King was shot. And I was very proud to see the video of the bell tower here at Andover also tolled to recognize that solemn moment, as well as that of my daughter's School of Groton and other institutions around the country and around the world. Engaged in that very important and solemn occasion. And thinking of Dr. King in particular got me thinking about his famously having asked the question, what is your life's blueprint? He spoke about architecting your life and sharing your life in such a way that one is not only excellent in what one does, but one is also giving and living in a way very consistent with what we have long called non-Sibi. And it got me to thinking of a question I asked myself some years ago, which is, what type of Andover graduate will you be? You bum, Meka, Egwuekwe. I talk to myself in third person jokingly from time to time, but no, what type of Andover graduate will you be? And so I'd like to share a few thoughts about a few Andover graduates and their approaches to non-Sibi, starting with my own. And at Code Crew, as was mentioned previously, we teach young people to write software. And I thought I might share a story about a young man named Maurice. And Maurice is 12 years old. He is in 7th grade. He's from a very socioeconomically challenged part of Memphis called South Memphis. And he's sort of at an age now where he's starting to figure out what he wants to do in life. And he doesn't quite know, of course, he's 12, but he knows he sort of likes technology. He likes, he's good with phones and games, and maybe he may want to study something like that one day. But unfortunately, Maurice can't learn this in school at all. He has no opportunities to learn to become a tech producer. And Maurice is growing up at a time when computers and software are changing everything. Think of anything today, your watch, your phone, certainly laptops and tablets. Think about automobiles, and my own Toyota Prius apparently has something like 37 computers in it. They are ubiquitous, and it's not decreasing, that's increasing for all of us around the world in the 21st century. And so It's also increasingly true that the cities of today and tomorrow have got to train and mobilize their workforces to prepare for this increasing reality. And Maurice is growing up, obviously, in this time, but unfortunately, most schools, especially public schools in our country, don't teach computer science. You know, some 90% of parents say they want it for their kids, but only 40% of schools teach computer programming in any capacity. Many of them simply just after-school programs that meet once a week. And so Maurice and millions of kids around this country are not getting these opportunities to be tech producers, right? These lucrative opportunities for careers and futures in the workplace and in entrepreneurship. And Maurice and his friends still very much, despite not having access to these options in school, they still love computer science and the arts more than all their other subjects. If you ask kids today, they do. And so a simple question is, why aren't more schools teaching computer science? Well, there are a lot of reasons why. Certainly there's a shortage of people even equipped to do so, and there's a considerable movement in that regard. But the sad reality in a lot of schools in our country is this: they are being tested to death. If it's not on the standardized test, kids are getting fewer and fewer opportunities to learn it. That goes for computer science, that goes for art, that goes for music. What was called No Child Left Behind has really become tech education left behind, become arts left behind, become music left behind. And so these young people are dreaming for these sorts of opportunities, but they are ultimately being railroaded into the sad state of public education, especially in our country, which is test-driven education. And over the past 30 years, a computer class has sort of evolved. So back in, say, 1986, that was a computer class was basically you learning how to program the thing, right? How do you make it do stuff? How do you then, of course, learn how to think computationally such that you can get the machine to do things? Fast forward some 30 years or more, and for many schools, a computer class is how to use Microsoft Office, Word and Excel, PowerPoint, how to use a web browser, how to use a keyboard. Now, all of those are very important skills. Everyone should know those skills. But you don't learn to be a producer of technology with just those skills. You learn to be a consumer of technology. And so how do you then pursue a career in keyboarding, right? How do you pursue a career as an entrepreneur if you don't have access to these opportunities and these skills? And so, we believe at Code Crew we need to get back more to what we used to have in schools in the mid-'80s. And so it should come as no surprise, and I know this may be a little hard to see in the back, but these are a number of tech companies with their tech roles divided by race. And so it should come as no surprise then that we have such dismal numbers with respect to diversity in tech, because arguably only those with the most privilege in our country are getting access to this type of education. And so it's dismal. I mean, and there's companies that are not up here that are also equally dismal. Amazon's not on this list, but they're just as bad, right? So many others. And it's not just a question of race and ethnicity. Also with respect to gender. Back in the mid-'80s, as many as a third of, or 33% of women in departments of computer science in colleges and universities around the country were, as many as a third of those students were women. Today, it's about 18%. So again, it should come as no surprise that our numbers are so dismal there. Women make up more than half the world's population. Right? So you would think and hope that half these roles would be filled by women, statistically speaking. Apple is the best on this list, and they're not even half of that at 23%. So we've got a long way to go. And excuse me. And from the perspective of Memphis and where Code Crew lies with respect to addressing this problem of lack of diversity in technology, we're driven by the mathematical realities in Memphis. Memphis will soon be the first majority African American metro area in the country. Already today, its largest demographics is African American females, followed by African American males, followed by Caucasian females. Latinos are the fastest growing group in Memphis. All of them are woefully and shamefully underrepresented in computer science. So how does a place like Memphis ever hope to be prosperous if all of its largest demographics are the ones most underrepresented in these lucrative 21st century careers? You know, we must solve this problem in Memphis because the math dictates it. In fact, it's not a question of politics, it's fundamentally about math. But that's fine though. That's fine because in a sense where ordinarily one does not think of Memphis and tech in the same sentence, right? It is one where we can make our greatest contribution. We must solve the problem of diversity in tech in Memphis because our prosperity, our future as a city depends on it. And that arguably is our gift to the rest of the country in this regard, in showing the rest of the country how to engage diversity and encourage diversity in the tech space. And thankfully, already on the ground today in Memphis, there are a number of great organizations, some local, some national. Black Girls Code, for example, is a great national program. That's where I got my start in tech education. And a number of others that are local to Memphis and so forth. I'm proud to be the co-founder and executive director at Code Crew. My two co-founders, Petia Grady and Audrey Jones-Willis, and I, the three of us were all in the IT space and didn't know anything about starting a nonprofit organization. And so we launched it through a technology accelerator in Memphis called StartCo and learned a lot about how to run a nonprofit. At the same time, provide that value to young kids. And we started in May of 2015 with a single summer camp that was a tech mentoring program that was funded by the Memphis Grizzlies NBA team at a community center in the heart of the city. And today we've grown to have reached more than 1,000 kids. Right now we work with more than 300 kids a week, tech mentoring them in everything from web development to video games to robotics, drone programming, all kinds of things. We have 4 summer camps, we have 12 after-school programs, 8 in-school electives classes where kids go in school and take a coding class from our instructors like they would a music or a French class. We teach video game development on the weekends, and we have what's the largest youth hackathon in Memphis and one of the largest in the southeastern United States. These are some of our kids, and at the community center, at the Lester Community Center in the heart of Memphis, learning how to build mobile apps, teaching members of the Memphis Grizzlies how to build mobile apps and make video games. That's Mario Chalmers and Mike Conley, if you are basketball fans at all. The Grizzlies sucked this year, though. Last 7 years, they were great, but this year, we've been struggling, so I'm looking for us to return to greatness. And so these kids are learning to make video games in Unity 3D, which is a world-class video game development platform. If you've ever played Temple Run or Angry Birds or Pokemon Go, all those games were written in Unity 3D. And again, that's not all. We teach drone programming. We've got kids now publishing their apps in the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. We take high school kids like yourself and place them in internships with local tech companies. We're teaching teachers now to teach their students in this regard so that we can scale from hundreds and thousands of kids to all 165,000 kids in Memphis and Shelby County. And this summer we're launching a young adult code school for those who maybe have tried college and it didn't work out for them. We were inspired by one of our students who had to move to another city to pursue a code school, and he's 19 years old now, making a very good salary as a software engineer. And so we're providing that to young people aged 16 to 30 in Memphis. I wanted to show this picture because it's a picture of some of our mentors. And it's actually after one of our hackathon events. And it's male and female. It's black and white and Latino and Asian and Native American. It is heavily fueled by pizza, and it is absolutely beautiful. And they say that the revolution will not be televised, but certainly the tech revolution will not be televised. It will be boots on the ground by people like these who make that a reality for young people in Memphis, and we hope to inspire kids all around the country with our model to bring quality computer science education to every child. And so let's go back to Maurice for a second. I can tell you that Maurice does go on to study computer science in school, that he does go to college and even graduate school in computer science. He has a successful career as a software engineer. He has a successful career as an entrepreneur. And I can tell you that because Maurice was me. And I was that young South Memphis kid. I didn't look like that. I stole that picture. But I was that young South Memphis kid who saw all kinds of things in South Memphis that young kids shouldn't see, right? But had an opportunity in 1986 to learn coding in school, right? And who came to Andover and also took coding classes here, and was able to have that orientation to point me to what was a 19-year successful career in software development before I quit 2 years ago to run Code Crew. And so I thought I might also share briefly, and I'll try to be brief, about a couple of other alums, some positive, some maybe not so positive. In particular, we spoke about these careers, and we all know that these careers are good for individuals and good for their communities because the wages are strong. And fundamentally, we need strong wages to have a strong middle class. That's anywhere in the world. And the most stable countries in the world are the ones with the strongest middle classes. And Dr. King understood this and spoke about it frequently. And if you don't know the story of why Dr. King was in Memphis in the first place, he was there supporting striking sanitation workers who wanted a decent wage, better working conditions, and the right to unionize. And some weeks earlier, 2 African-American sanitation workers had been crushed in the back of a garbage truck that malfunctioned. And the story is, as I understand it, that they were in the back with the garbage because it was raining, and black workers, already severely underpaid, didn't get paid like white workers did in inclement weather if they were not still working in some capacity. And so that moment, their deaths was the last straw in a long line of abuses by the city government against workers, especially against black workers. And so they went on strike, some 1,300 of them, for some basic human decency. And they actually wore signs to say, "I'm a man." This is one of many iconic photos that I'm sure you've already seen. And of course they were men. However, the mayor of Memphis at the time, a man named Henry Loeb, himself a graduate of the very same Andover you attend today, was not being very non-Sibi. He was an avowed segregationist whose family built his fortune on the backs of highly underpaid black laundry workers. And as mayor, he certainly was not about to change his cheap labor conservatism for a group of black garbage workers. And so Dr. King came to Memphis to support these workers and to dramatize what was truly a shameful condition and in the true spirit of non-Sibi. And we all know what happened on April 4th, 1968. And I hope we can all agree that Mayor Henry Loeb was that type of Andover graduate we do not want to emulate. So somehow non-Sibi was lost on that man. Maybe he was just absent, I don't know. Right? Maybe he didn't see the seal by Paul Revere that clearly states non-Sibi in the middle of the sun. Right? I don't know where his mind was, but America and the world paid dearly. There are so many Andover grads doing great work around the world. Hafsat Abiola will be here later this week, speaking at the Aflatam reunion. She was a schoolmate of mine and a dear friend. Vanessa Kerry, also a previous non-Sibi Day speaker, who is doing great work ensuring sustainable medical education, if you will, and not just dropping into places and providing health care, which is definitely a plus, but training people such that that continues even in the absence of those who've dropped in. And there's so many others whose names may be less known, but who are no less giving. And fundamental to them all is an understanding that non-Sibi is a spirit and it is a way of life. And non-Sibi Day should not be some token service day so you can say you checked off a box for the year. Right? And it isn't. That's not the reason why we have non-Sibi Day. We have non-Sibi Day to remind us of how important service is. Right? Just like we have holidays. We celebrate Easter to remember the resurrection of Christ. We celebrate, Yom Kippur and all these different holidays to remember. Right? And so non-Sibi Day should be a remembrance of what we should be doing, reminding us that it takes our time, our talent, our treasure that we've been blessed with to use it positively and meaningfully to improve our communities, our countries, our continents, all in the vein of what the Greeks called agape love. So what will be your life blueprint, as Dr. King said? How will you think globally and act locally to leave your impact on your community and thus the world in a positive, meaningful, non-selfish way? How will you be engaged for others? What type of Andover graduate will you be? Thank you very much.
Meka, Egwuekwe, thank you for your inspiration, and I think we have time for a couple of questions. If anyone would like to step up to the mic, we'll take one on each side, how about, and then we will release from there.
I certainly understand if there are no questions, but I certainly thank you all for the opportunity to be here and share a few words, and I look forward to spending more time with you. I'm going to be here all week, right up through Sunday, celebrating the Athletic Am reunion. And so thank you so much again for this opportunity. I love Andover. Go Big Blue. Thank you. Excellent. Hello.
Tessa. I just was wondering what your thoughts were on the fact that Andover doesn't have a computer science requirement.
Say that again?
I was wondering what your thoughts were on the fact that Andover doesn't have a computer science requirement.
Well, my initial thought is that's surprising because I learned how to program in Pascal right here at Andover. Right, Pascal is an old language now. That's way back in the 19s, as my kids would say. Right, but so that is quite surprising So there are no coding classes at all here at Andover?
There are coding classes, but it's not a graduation requirement.
So there are coding classes, but it's not a requirement. I see. I'm sorry, I misheard your question. So, well, I firmly believe in computer science being a requirement, quite frankly. I think so here's how I see it. Computational thinking is concepts like decomposition of large problems into smaller ones. It's pattern recognition. It is abstraction and generalization. It is algorithms. These things are fundamental to computer science, but they don't apply just to computer science. Right? They apply across subjects: math, science, even in English and history, economics. And so, just as kids study. You guys have all studied photosynthesis and electricity, but not all of you are going to become electrical engineers or electricians or biologists, right? But you still study those things because they're part of your way of life, part of your life today. Right? computers are increasingly a part of our life today. And so, yes, absolutely, I am a firm believer that computer science ought to be a requirement, at least for one class, as a graduation requirement. That's one of the things we're pushing for in Memphis, to do what they've already accomplished in Chicago, which is to require computer science for graduation. And again, in the 21st century, with machines being as ubiquitous as they are, how can we not be ensuring that young people like yourself have a more fundamental understanding of computational thinking? So those are my thoughts in that regard. Thank you.
Especially considering Dr. King's anti-militaristic stance, do you believe that CS students have an obligation not to be hired by organizations like Raytheon or the NSA or Boeing, where their math and computer science skills could be conceivably used to create weapons?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So for me personally, I would be challenged to accept a position like that, right? For me personally, I am one who's always tried to be conscious of the greater impact on people, and so I personally would have a problem accepting a position like that. That being said, I recognize that many people are in different positions in their lives, in terms of access to opportunities. Their skill set, their fortune in terms of employment may only be at some companies like those. And I can certainly understand, in the interest of feeding their children, they have to make some tough choices. So for me personally, I would not be so inclined. I can tell you that I've done some software development that was general purpose software. I used to be an expert in systems integrations, and it was general purpose. It was out there, generic, that could be used like Facebook is used, or any social media is used, right? And Facebook is protected by the law from how people use the platform, and you saw it to devastating effect in the most recent election, right? And I can tell you that I'm pretty sure that some of my own software has been used by some government entities that I may not like how it's been used. I didn't know that when it was being written. I just wrote it to solve these data integration problems, right? And so, I don't like that. And I, again, personally would be challenged. I would not be so inclined to be engaged in an activity that engaged in violence and destruction. I believe in what Dr. King and his message brought us, which is nonviolence and giving your life of others. When he spoke about the war in Vietnam in particular, and forgive me for being so long-winded, he said, should I threaten them with death, or should I not share with them my life? And when he campaigned against the war in Vietnam, he came from that perspective, and I share that perspective.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Giving the candy off of us, right? So thank you. Thank you so much. What type of Andover graduate will you be? I think it's the perfect non-Sibi Day question framed by Mr. Egwuekwe, who will be in Camden after this. There's clearly much more to be said on this topic. He has also given you an important teaser, which is this weekend starting at 7 p.m. in this chapel will be the AFLADM 50th celebration with an address by Hafsat Abiola, class of 92. This can be a wonderful event running through Saturday, so I hope everyone will come back to the chapel at that time. All school meeting is dismissed. Thank you.